All right, well, in Halitics, it's a Monday. It's a Carlos Monday with the left-handed leftist, Carlos Charles. Hey, Carlos, how you doing?
What's up? What's up, Hal? So glad to be here with you on an incredible Monday. Actually warm outside today before it gets cold this week.
It's really warm. I'm wearing my T-shirt. I know I'm going to hear from it. You should dress up. You should wear the tie. But hey, you got to be comfortable, right? And that's where we are.
Look. Dressing up is a burden of the corporatist class.
Exactly. Yes. This is my little rebellion. This is my little way of sticking it to the man.
Ooh, shout out to the proletariat.
So, Carlos, let me ask you this, because left-handed leftist. Now, my older son is lefty, but he's kind of ambidextrous, I think is the right word, which he does some things with his right hand and some with his left. Are you like that, or are you just full on lefty?
I'm actually the same way, just a little bit. And I think it's because we live in like a right-handed society. So like every so often you have to kind of force yourself to do things right-handed. Like I will like if I'm throwing something, I might throw with my right hand, but I'll write with my left hand all the time. I used to actually play tennis when I was younger, and that's one of the things that my coach actually said was weird about me. He was like, you play with both hands. It's like you can switch which hand you actually hit the ball with depending on which side you're on. So I've always said, hey, if you're left-handed, you kind of have to adapt to right-handed things, especially like, the one biggest thing, Hal, is scissors. Scissors are so right-handed, and it hurts.
Right? You got to kind of.
Right. I'm like, okay, like this isn't working, but okay.
Yeah, that's like my son too. He's like a bats left, throws right, I think is how that works. So, because he was a pitcher, but he bats left, like he would stand to the left side. It was kind of weird watching, like that he could do that. But it was natural for him too.
That's it too. With like right-handed people, when you all watch us do things, it's like you all look at us like, what? How does that work? You're a separate animal.
You're different species altogether. Yeah, no, it is true because I could barely like lift I can lift my left hand, but it's really awkward.
Really?
And the left, I think that is true. Lefties are more likely to be two-handed, I guess, or double-handed.
That and creative too, because we think with our right side of our brain more.
Oh yeah, you guys are much more creative than we are.
Yeah.
So big weekend in Europe. I did highlight that we got a lot of different topics, and we're getting a little bit of a late start. Carlos can't stay past about 1:45, unfortunately, East Coast time. So, and let me just share why we're starting late. In part, we did get a new family edition, Dolly. She's a beautiful sort of mini black lab. I held her up for Carlos, but she's kind of nervous. You could see that, right? She's real nervous.
A little bit, yeah. She even looked like, hey, look, this is a lot. I met one person. That's great. Let's not do more than that.
That's what they told us. We're supposed to like keep things really easy for her and just like keep her in the house, just take her outside, just to do her business, which she's really good at. She's trained. She had a rough early start. It's like apparently the people that had her before us who didn't always feed her, and she goes neglected. It's she's a little scared of people. It's
awful. Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense to get treated like that.
Well, we treat people badly and we treat animals badly. It's very, very sad. Not Carlos and me, but a lot of our fellow Americans and around the world. We are seeing, though, a real uprising in Europe against the genocide. I just wanted to talk about the story real quick because that's what I've been featuring here. And good news, I guess you'd call it. I think it is, Carlos. We were surprised much fewer deaths over the weekend in Gaza.
No, definitely. I think it even ties into that whole Trump deal with Hamas and Israel as well.
Yeah, how do we deal with that? I mean, we're in this space where Trump mostly, I certainly am, very much against Trump, very critical, think he's been a terrible president. Does he get some kind of grudging credit if he is able at this point to stop the genocide? Do you give him any credit for that?
Yeah, I'll give him like one flower petal and say, hey, you did a good job. I guess you did a good job. I still have to wait until we actually see the end result, because even as we know now, Israel will say, yeah, sure, we'll follow a peace plan or a deal, and then start bombing the next day and say, well, I didn't like the look on like a Palestinian's face when I saw them, so we got to restart again.
Yeah, I'm reluctant to give Trump even a scintilla of credit because this has gone on for so long and he could have stopped it. So it's sort of more like saying to the serial killer, well, thanks for not killing another 100 people after you killed 100 on the highway.
Right.
And, so that's sort of my thought on that. And that's why I can't really, when he first came into office and there was that ceasefire, I was prepared to give him credit for that.
Yeah, I was like, hey, he did a good thing. I mean, Biden couldn't do it.
But for whatever reason, and probably because he's a narcissist, a sociopathic narcissist who doesn't care about human life, the pressure from outside sources to just give Israel everything it wanted and not say no was too powerful.
Yeah.
So let's just hope that this can, we can begin the process of rebuilding. But I don't know. You can't ever. It can never. I don't know what you do. You can't wash it away. It's a genocide. It's the ultimate crime.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing. Well, there is stuff worse that could happen, I'm sure, but this is like, as what we're looking at now, this is the worst thing that we've seen in like the 21st century happen. And I think it would even be different for American people if this was just something that was happening and the United States wasn't funding it or supporting it. It was just like, hey, it's just happening. But legit, we as the United States, we are the reason that this has gone on so long and is happening at this point.
Well, the genocides in Africa, Sudan, Congo, that's sort of a little bit more like what you were saying, where it's happening, but we're not really responsible. We're partly responsible, right? I mean, it's not like we're not responsible.
They're American
corporations. We could do so much more to stop it. We've helped, I think, supply the weapons to the different warring groups. And, Western colonialism is what created those killing grounds. But to the extent of being directly involved the way we are in supplying and supporting the genocide, or no, this seems unique to me.
Yeah, and it's a lot of in certain African countries, a lot of like U.S. corporations who are more so going over there and kind of taking advantage of the destabilization that you mentioned happened from colonialism, and it's still happening from colonialism too. I mean, the only other one I could say that we are like really responsible for would be things like in Haiti, but also in these like regime change wars that we're starting to look at and see possibly could be happening in Venezuela with taking over their government. So yeah,
Haiti's a really good example. The Clintons in Haiti did so much damage to destabilize that country to such a great degree and created the conditions that led to the just complete implosion of that country. The incredibly low wages, a government that simply had no real resources to protect the people or to protect, or to stop the you had those gangs because they filled the role that the government was not filling.
Yeah, and then you had the puppet government that the United States was propping up every so often and say, well, look, we want this person to run your country, and then they fall apart because the people don't want them. And I mean, that filled with the natural disasters that they've had. I mean, but also the craziest part is that we hear all this about Israel has the right to defend themselves. No one said when Haiti had its revolutions, Haiti has the right to defend itself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I reject the idea that Israel's a right. Well, I mean, I guess they have a right to, if people are in Israel killing civilians, yeah, you can stop that. But what they should be doing, of course, is stop oppressing and occupying, Gaza and Palestine, and treat the people there like human beings.
Yeah,
6 more Palestinians in Gaza. This was the latest. This is such a lower number than we've seen. Obviously, any death is terrible, but 6 will take if it's versus 96. But of course, we want it all to end. And this is from Anadolu Ajansi. I don't have an exact count, Carlos, but I'll put my little thumbnail up just to keep this going until hopefully there really is a ceasefire. This is the most optimistic or least pessimistic I've been in a while. Just adding from last week 62,294. I'm sure the real number, well, the real number is definitely much higher, but the official number maybe too. I don't have it. And yeah, Trump, Netanyahu over 13,000 now. So all terrible, terrible news. I do want folks, of course, you want more Hal, you want more Carlos. Please do subscribe now. I'm going to tell you another place you can get more Carlos, and that's going to be the left-handed left. I mean, you know, hey, the name says it all. The Left-Handed Leftist podcast on YouTube. Link to the YouTube site is in today's show description. But where else are you? You're all over the place, Carlos.
Yes, I'm on Spotify. I'm on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. We will soon be on Amazon, whatever it's called, their version of podcast too. YouTube, all social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all that. And also for people, it is just like left-handed left without the hyphen in it.
Oh, I'll take it out because I don't want to confuse anybody. I don't want to.
No, you're good.
I'm a big hyphen guy. I always like those hyphens, but
I know, right? Grammatically, it actually makes more sense. Probably having a hyphen. But I was like, nah, let's not follow the normal rules of capitalism.
Well, I'm gonna give it to you, Carlos, because I showed you Left-Handed Leftist. I said, "Is that good?" Before we went live,
I didn't. That was my fault.
A lot of times it's seat of the pants here, right? I'm typing it as we're actually broadcasting, but this time I gave Carlos 30 seconds.
Yep, that was my fault. I saw it, and I didn't even see it. I've read it. I was like, "All right, great. It reads perfect." And I was like, "Oh wait, no, there's a hyphen somewhere in there."
Yeah. Where's the hyphen? No, but it was too late by then. But we'll fix it. We'll fix it. We're going to do that right now. You've done a few. You've got some shorts up. You've got the one you did with. Is it? I don't want to pronounce his name wrong. Is it Harui?
No, Hurry had go. Yep, we did an amazing one about Palestine, focused on the U.S. complicity in that. We had a really good conversation talking about Black elected officials and kind of their version of, hey, this big civil rights leader, but you're going against actual civil rights and human rights as well. We had a really good conversation. He actually enlightened me on this Elijah Cummings nonprofit that was set up to kind of indoctrinate young Black people to be Zionists, starting as early as like high school. It's called the Elijah Cummings, and I should have the name. It's like Elijah Cummings Project in Israel.
Yeah, that's really bad. I was not aware of that at all, and I'm sorry to hear that. I wasn't a huge fan of the late Congressman Elijah Cummings. Wasn't a huge fan. I understand he had done some really good things in the civil rights movement, and I honor that, no question about it. I felt in his later years when he was in Congress, he definitely was not somebody who was prepared to stand up to the Democratic leadership and elites, but rather would do what they and the corporate donor class wanted, tragically, like so many other Democrats, period. And it doesn't, of any color, of any stripe, of any sex, they all seem to fall into that line. But I didn't know that Cummings had become a kind of an ardent Zionist, and I'm very sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was called the Elijah Cummings Youth Program in Israel. Yeah, and they do the same thing that AIPAC does. They will even they used to before what happened with the genocide started, fly out high school students to Israel on like an all expense paid trip to learn about the culture and all that. Yeah, it was starting them early. I mean, look, I have my criticisms of Elijah Cummings as well. I think one of them is I think a lot of civil rights leaders use their civil rights chops to say, hey, this is why I'm great for like Black people. But then once they get in, they turn full on corporatist and do whatever the corporate or corporations want. Look at Al Sharpton. Look at the Congressional Black Caucus, which used to be the most progressive caucus, but is now the most corporatist and centrist caucus as well. And then I also hold a personal kind of issue that may be a hot topic here, but I feel like a lot of these Congress people, they know when they are reaching the end stages of their life, their inability to let go of power and say, hey, I'm not going to run anymore and let someone else do it is insane to me. And I think that should be probably the biggest stain on all of their legacies.
Yeah. 100%. I got, and again, we see this, we can level, and I do criticisms that identifiable Congress members based on their, race, their sexuality, because you see gay Congress members who seem not particularly progressive at all. People like Mayor Pete. Well, he's not in Congress.
Richie Torres.
Similar. But this is sort of, and I wasn't going to go in this direction at all, but now since we got to the black-white thing and really all races and et cetera, I was really taken by, and I talk about how much I like Breonna Joy Gray, but she's very critical of African American congressmen, of politicians and the like, and white ones. But she did talk about the reaction to Charlie Kirk's death, and she talked about how I believe, now correct me if I'm wrong, because this is my sense. She was in a podcast. Who was it with Dave Daniel? What's the gentleman's name?
No, I thought it was like JB James something
Fauntleroy or
Fauntleroy, JB Fauntleroy, I think.
I don't know. We'll try to find out. But she was talking about the reaction to Charlie Kirk's death, and she was very critical of white liberals. I mean, and I'm saying what she said specifically Ezra Klein, but there were many others, and rightly so, who praised Kirk and said really nice things about him. And she also made the point that black liberals, of whom many she's been very critical, were more, recognized Kirk's how problematic, racist, anti-black, whatever term you want to use, he was. And I thought that was fair to a point, but here's why I have a problem with it. Because I think that's stereotyping to a degree. I shared with you that video, I won't play it, where Van Jones referred to Kirk as what did he say? A good person?
A good person. He was a good person, willing to have respectful conversations with. I think Van Jones is I hate using Van Jones ever as an example because I think Van Jones's main thing is about himself. Like he tries to, even in the clip that we talked about before, he centers Charlie Kirk's death around himself and how I was his biggest enemy and all that. I'm like, honestly, Van, most people probably didn't know who you were from Charlie Kirk's orbit other than just a talking head. So no one really cared. But and that's one thing that Van Jones was basically saying, how him and Charlie Kirk had this big, huge beef on Twitter, and then Charlie Kirk hit him up privately and said, "Hey, I respect you. Let's have a honest conversation about crime and black people and all that stuff." Me personally, I think that Charlie Kirk probably talks like that in private conversations, but we see how he acts online and in front of other people. I don't think the conversation probably would have been respectful or probably would have been that great of a conversation either. To Breonna Joy Gray's point, I will say that as a black person, seeing a lot of the white liberals kind of whitewash Charlie Kirk, but also say the same thing of what Ezra Klein said of he sees himself in Charlie Kirk. I think that's where the disconnect goes of as a black person, I don't think because of who Charlie Kirk was and what he said, I don't think we would ever see ourselves in Charlie Kirk. Cause it's if I see Charlie Kirk to me did not really see black humanity the same way as he saw white humanity. So I don't think that it's easy for us to see ourselves within him. But I do think that it's just to a point. I understand white people seeing themselves in other white people because you recognize yourself with them. And I think that Ezra Klein was even kind of bad faith in his argument, or in most of his arguments actually, because I feel like he just wants viewership and wants more people to watch him. And so if his thing is, look, if I gotta whitewash Charlie Kirk to make it look good, I will. And the thing of Charlie Kirk debated the quote unquote the right way. How do you say that to someone who Charlie Kirk basically was I don't see you as a human being?
He was so disrespectful to Breonna Joy Gray. I haven't even played the clip because I find it uncomfortable. My personal sense was it was incredibly disrespectful.
Oh, definitely.
So I can't, I won't play it. I will say this, by all accounts, he was friends with Candace Owens.
Yeah.
So, I don't know where you go with that, because
I don't know
I just feel like the best way to respond to these people is to go after their policies, to say, this is what you said, this is what you stood for. And I say that because this is the positions you've been taking. I think they're very wrong. They're very harmful. They're very destructive. And to those who say that you're polite or you're doing politics the right way, here are examples where you were not polite, where you were rude, where you overtalked people, where you made bad faith arguments, where you made dishonest arguments and then weren't willing to acknowledge them. That's how I think is the best response. The guy's name is JB Font, and she did him a real solid by being on his program, because he has a lot fewer subscribers.
Definitely.
But it's a good picture of them, and I recommend this. I thought this was a really, really worthwhile video that I was totally captivated by. I thought, I understood what she was saying. I definitely think we see things differently. We all bring our own experiences. Look, and we'll talk briefly about reparations, because I think she makes the point there that, white liberals aren't supportive of reparations. And I personally have been very mixed. And I told you, Carlos, I would support the bill that the Maryland Black Caucus has been pushing, but I don't think it's strategically that wise.
Really?
And I do think because I always talk about an alliance of poor, struggling, and working people. And this is a type of law that divides them. It doesn't end the story for me, but clearly there's a huge gulf between what white working people and black people think about reparations. So, but I would support it because I think it would make life better for people, a lot of people. So for that reason, I would. But I mean, I don't know how we get past that. I mean, if you have a bill that's going to explicitly provide for compensation for one group of people and not another, isn't it just the way humans are? We're going to support the bill that helps us, and we're not going to support the bill that helps them.
That's where I don't agree with that. Actually, before we go into my disagreement, I do want to say that is not what actually the Maryland reparations bill did. The Maryland reparations bill would only have set up a task force or a work group to basically outline how reparations would work. It would still take the full General Assembly and governor to sign on to actually like putting those procedures into motion. But where I disagree with it is that you have a lot of black people, a lot of U.S. citizens, a lot of white people who fight for immigration reform. And immigration reform, to be honest, to a point, doesn't affect everyone. It more so is focused on immigrant populations. You have people who fought for gay marriage that did not affect non-gay people, but people still fought for it. So I think that in this country, we can definitely see ourselves or not see ourselves, but we can understand that, hey, this community is going through X, Y, and Z problem. We should help them. I do think that culturally and societally, if that's a word, the United States has had such a history of anti-blackness to where we're, to a point, the country is okay with helping other different groups on certain things. But when it comes to black people, it is a sense of black people have always kind of been struggling, or they already use up a bunch of resources. So what do they need this extra sense for? You look at when we talk about things like Medicaid, when we talk about food assistance or food stamps, SNAP and things like that. Even though it's mostly used by white people, it is still a sense of any increase to that program goes specifically to helping black people. Even I have criticisms of DEI, where DEI has been seen as it's the way to get black people jobs, or affirmative action, where actually that program and also affirmative action mostly helps white women get jobs and get better places. So I think that there's this thing of if it helps black people, it's seen as a bad thing. But if you can link it to another group, it's seen as a good thing.
It's really interesting. That's I think kind of what Brianna Joy Gray said too, because she made the point that African Americans are at the bottom. I think she made that point. We've got to accept this. And
my grandmother used to say that.
So I think that's really helpful to me to express that in terms of trying to be as empathetic and understanding, that you're saying that, and I understand the point is that if it was a different group of people, I agree with that to a point. I'm not sure if I fully agree with it. I mean, certainly right now, one of the biggest scapegoats that the Republicans are relying on is not black people, it's immigrants.
Oh, yeah.
And especially what they call illegals. So but I think this makes a similar point. I want to show this this tweet and respond to it, because I think the concern I really have is you get this divide and conquer strategy that elites use, whether Democrat, Republican, whatever, but that elites use to prevent reform. So the Republicans are trying to save this massive slashing, the gutting of Medicare and Medicaid by not saying, well, black people will benefit from maintaining past funding levels, but rather that the Democrats are trying to guarantee illegals health care, which is a lie. It's actually flat out false. I talked about this last show, and we're going to get into it a little bit more because I see this. It's still out there. This is the meme. But isn't that, this is a program that does help white people, black people, Asians, everyone who's below certain income levels, and even above if you're retired. So doesn't that kind of point the way a little bit? Is that what we on the left should be doing, is talking more about how we can help all people or all struggling people rather than base it on race? I don't think that ends the story, because please make the case why that's not enough. But that's sort of where I keep coming back to over and over again.
No, definitely. And I also get that kind of like theory of it too. I agree with you that we do need to fight for like universal policies that help everyone. I think we also, it's like a yes, we need to focus on that, but also we have to realize and notice that there are a lot of disparities that have mostly affected black people, or have been put in situations where like we have had these like universal policies, and then we've seen either carve outs, or we've seen just the amount of support that should be going to black people not going to them. And also Brianna Joy Gray makes this point with it in the video in the video I sent you about Charlie Kirk and Brianna Joy Gray debating how like the GI Bill wasn't really as effective when it came to house loans to black people, because a lot of the white banks were just refusing to give black people loans in certain neighborhoods. So that's something. It was like a universal program for veterans. Well,
he argued that so did black-owned banks, which to me, regardless, there are a couple of responses. One, so what? Either way, it hurt the black community. And B, how many black-owned banks were there?
Exactly.
There probably were. So I'll bet there were more then than there are now, because there's been consolidation, and you have smaller banks have gone out of business. So to me, that would be by the way, that would be a program I would 100% support, is trying to build up small community-centered banks.
Definitely.
In African American communities and rural communities, whatever. I think that would be a great program that would definitely disproportionately help black communities. I also like, and we talk about this, HBCUs I think are great as well. Something that I think studies have shown that many lower income black students actually thrive in HBCUs who may not do as well and it's understandable, right? In an Ivy League or some school where there's a lot of more affluent students, black and white, and they don't really fit in, frankly. They don't, because they come from a different milieu. They don't have the spending money, et cetera. So I think those are all great programs. I don't know what you do with it. I just, again, I'm more about trying to equalize everything as much as possible for everybody.
And just kind of like last point on this too, is that I look at it similar to how you have a class divide, and then within that class divide, you have a hierarchy of like who is where on the totem pole. And my grandmother always said, she said it was a newspaper that she read when she was growing up, how they were talking about how if there's a totem pole in society, Black people are at the bottom underneath, like sometimes like animals. And because you will see a lot of people advocate for like animals' rights to like live and stuff before they will advocate around like Black people dying by like the hands of cops. They'll be like, well, hey, look, he kind of stepped out of line. Like, what's his name? The Daniel Penny guy of like, hey, he was stopping someone who was like just yelling a lot and acting crazy. Hey, but you see someone like shoot a dog who's like trying to like attack them. Hey, that's an animal. So
that's interesting. Yeah, that I hadn't thought of that particular analogy, but that is really interesting. And no, we have so much work to do to, I think, greater society to. And I'm actually reading a book right now by a man who, Black man who grew up very poor in New York City, and he talks about like the casual racism that he encountered in the 1970s. So this is long after the civil rights movement, when I would have thought, it was better. But for him and what he experienced, it was terrible. And I think this is something we absolutely have to grapple with. And, and do you see, like, I mean, how would you see programs, Carlos, that would be a good way to address that particular dynamic that we're talking about?
I think.
And do you think it's still going on, like even it was in that book, like I described, in the way the police were just so racist? They just, as Black people, they just treated significantly worse in every encounter than white people.
Oh yeah, I think it's still the same now. It may. I don't want to say it's worse or any better, to be honest. I think it's about the same, especially when you look at, like, when you just look at police videos of them, like, killing Black people, and then you see these videos that pop up on social media of, like, a white person running, hitting the police and all that, and it's seen as, like, all right, cool, we're going to handle, like, because I think people see themselves in sometimes who they're policing. So if you have a lot of white officers, they may be like, hey, that could be my cousin or my aunt or my uncle or somebody. But then also you have a society and a culture in the police departments that have kind of, it's almost like a open secret that yes, Black people can be treated worse than white people can, and not much is going to happen. And I think once that kind of gets, that narrative is like repeated over and over and you kind of have even Black people who come into the police department knowing where they stand, or also being like, look, I have to also act this way towards my own community because I don't want to be out here in a shootout and then the white officers feel like, hey, I'm not supporting you. I'm not gonna help you because you don't help us. I think reparations can do a lot for putting Black people on a more like economic status, or like equality or equity with white people, and also the other counterparts too. Because when we look at statistics, Black people are below Latinos. We're below where Asian Americans, African based Americans as well. So we are mostly on the lowest part of the totem pole when it comes to statistics and
African born, African immigrants.
Yep. There we go. Yes, thank you. They do better because they're not seen as Black people. Have better
outcomes is what we're saying. Yeah.
They're seen differently than Black Americans as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, we just got to keep the conversation going. I mean, I don't
definitely
we had answers. Obviously, the answer is not to elect Donald J. Trump president, and it was not to elect Kamala Harris president either.
No,
we just haven't reached a point where we have the type of candidates that we can rely on to try to make things better for people in this country, especially those who are struggling and have been struggling, if they're they're members of groups that have been treated like second-class citizens, if that well, for centuries. You see here, I just want to put this up again. We're talking about the divide and conquer strategy that continues. I just wanted to respond to this briefly. So National Dems are frantically trying to deny supporting healthcare for illegal immigrants. And that's kind of how they keep phrasing it, supporting healthcare. But Republican plan cut, I guess, $1 trillion, some enormous amount, maybe not quite, maybe over 10 years from the supplement from the Affordable Care Act markets and subsidies for them and Medicaid and Medicare. This will lead, if the Democratic shutdown isn't successful, doubling of healthcare premiums for young people, for many others. It would be a terrible, terrible blow.
Yeah.
And the Republicans are doing everything possible to distract the voters by saying, "Oh, it's Democrats who really want to give healthcare to what they call illegals." Do you think are people falling? Some people do fall for this. I showed that people are tweeting out that nonsense.
It's stupid. And the crazy thing is that I'm a little sick of the right framing the liberal Democrats as like this big socialist party who's like, hey, they want to give undocumented people health care. I'm like, okay, so as someone on the left who actually does want the undocumented people who are here to receive health care, I'm like, stop attributing that to them because they don't want to do it.
Well, that's such a great point, because this is a good thing, actually. But I want to throw this at you, Carlos. Why this is effective, at least among some Republicans, because I think they don't have if we had universal care, they'd be like, this is fine. But they often they go to the hospital, they get done with thousands of dollars of bills they got to pay. They can't always afford it. They may refuse care. Then they're like, well, why the hell should I have to pay for somebody? I don't care if they're bleeding out. They probably got into a gunfight because they're a gangster. I don't sympathize with that view, but I do sympathize with the view that not only am I not able to get the care I need, but I have to pay taxes for other people. We have to make sure everyone gets health care in this country.
No, you're right. I actually don't know if there was universal health care for, let's just say, United States citizens, and undocumented people were also getting health care. I don't know, with just the capitalist way that our country runs and how we're so individualistic in our society, if people saw undocumented people also getting healthcare, would they say, "Oh, that's taking away money and resources that we could use on our healthcare," or they're making the lines longer in hospitals because of they're using this? And I don't know. And I always wonder, is it because of American culture in the way America was founded that we have much more of like an individualistic mindset than you look at these other countries who you see protesting and doing things in solidarity with each other?
I'm sure that's part of it. But I would just make the point, I believe, yes, that's part of it. That's different ethos here. But I do also think if people really felt secure in that they would always get the treatment they needed and would never have to pay out of pocket for it, would never have to worry about paying for a child who's got some got some serious diseases, medications. I think that people would be less ungenerous. They might still be a little bit selfish. They might still be, what are we, rugged individualists, but they would be less so. Don't you think?
I agree with that. No, I agree with that, actually. I do think, I think people being in economic precarity makes them more, it heightens all the worst features of people. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. By the way, I like that word, precarity. That was a good one.
Right.
I'm going to look that up. I think that is a word, by the way. Do you know,
if it's
is
not,
that a word?
Don't tell me. Yeah. If it's not, don't tell me it's not.
Precariousness, but precarity may also be. So there was a post I showed where the Californian Kylie said that, let's show it up again. Humiliating moment for Newsom. National Dems are frantically trying to deny support for illegal immigrants. He's not quite that crude as to use the word alien there. But I thought this was a really good response. Well, there were two. One is, this is a frickin' lie. It's to distract people from Dems trying to reverse the cuts to healthcare Republicans made in the big, beautiful bill. And in fact, that's exactly right. That's exactly what it is. It's a phony distraction to keep people from realizing how badly that bill hurts them. But I I like this too. Why the hate? You have friends who were illegal for a short time. I overstayed my visas a couple times, and the one time I needed care, I paid for it. So why the hate? And then, so I thought that was an interesting response as well. I think, it's fear. Fear makes you scared. Fear makes you very angry, and you're going to look for someone to blame. The people we should blame are the for-profit healthcare corporate
Right.
titans and the politicians. And by the way, Carlos, just on that point, I know you got to go in a minute, but people do hate them. It's not like they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the support that was it Luigi got,
Mangione,
right?
yep.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
people understand what he did. People, or I'll say this: what he allegedly did, because we don't even know yet. But people feel like, hey, if he did that was the right thing to do, because we see how healthcare companies are killing millions of people, or thousands, hundreds of thousands of people a day. So they feel like, hey, one less CEO isn't hurting anybody. I look and say, hey, the CEO may still be alive if he made different life choices with how he ran his company. But yeah, I also think in our society we've had such a lack of government, or just understanding what government is, the rules and regulations of government, to where it's easy to tell people that, undocumented people are getting healthcare because of this, and people just believe it because they think it.
Well, this chart real quick. This is screen capture here from NBC News. If the Republican cuts go through, the average Obamacare monthly premium will jump by well over 50%. And that's just a really good graphic that just sums it all up. So you can be as anti-democratic as you want to be. Carlos and I certainly are. The bottom line is, in this fight, they're doing everything they can to keep your average healthcare premium from going up over $1,000 if you don't have it at work. And it will also go up at work, by the way. They already are going up way up. My healthcare insurance through my wife's job is seeing a significant hike. In fact, the hikes, Carlos, are so great that they often outweigh the cost of living increases or any raises people get, the cost of increased healthcare now. All right, you got to go, right? I hate to say goodbye, but
no,
we'll have you
too.
next week. But hell will continue.
Yes.
Don't worry. I'll still be here. Carlos, at least for the next 20 minutes or so. Carlos, the left-handed leftist. Check it out. You got to check it out. And you can see Carlos again next week. Thanks so much. Always great to have you, Carlos.
Always great to be here. Thanks, Al. Talk with you later.
All right, my friend Carlos leaving us, and he just dropped off. He dropped off so fast I couldn't. It's my fault. I knew he had to go, but I should have had my scene with just me ready to go. What else do we have here? I just wanted to get to a couple of other thoughts. Right-wingers, I got into this with a righty on social media. Somebody had posted this meme, and they were kind of excited about it. They were like, look at this protester in Oregon. Like, they're happy. They're happy that this government thug, right? This ICE thug has got her scared out of her mind, manhandling her there in Portland, Oregon, and they're happy about it. And again, this is an attitude I really have trouble with. I may disagree, but I'll say this: I may disagree with you politically, but I'll always fight for you to have health care. Always fight for you to have a security, economic justice, security. It just seems so obvious to me that that's where we need to join forces, rather than let arguments about so-called illegals divide us. And you can see Gavin Newsom, for whatever else, I've got a lot of issues with Gavin Newsom. Certainly, he's not my choice. There are issues of corruption that I think are very fair, close ties to big pharma that are very fair to point out. Man, who's definitely in the 0.01%, who has often not fought for working class Americans, but he's right on the to protect hospital care for immigrants. And he's also right to try to stop the California National Guard from being deployed to Oregon. So, Gavin, thank you for fighting for those important issues. All right, if you want to join me, Carlos is gone. 240-242-5646. Would love to talk to you. 240-242-5646. Couple of other stories I wanted to highlight, and we may go a little bit, end a little early today, but this was interesting to me from the Washington Post. And again, we have such a failure of leadership in this country. So according to this latest poll from the Washington Post, many American Jews sharply critical of Israel and Gaza. Most Jews say Israel is committing war crimes, over 60%, and 39% say genocide, while often distinguishing between the country and its leadership. So why is this important? Well, first of all, 40% is a lot. I think the percentage of Americans who are now willing to call Israel's actions genocide is even higher. I may be wrong. I think it's even higher. But Jews are broadly reflective of the population in general and our opposition to Israel. I also note that there's 60% in this poll saying war crimes. That's a very, very substantial charge to levy, right? So American Jews are saying Israel's committing war crimes. And yet we're so ill-served by our leaders. Rabbis will not say this. Even though, at least according to the Washington Post poll, most of their flock, their congregation, feels that way, believes that, and rightly so. And yet the rabbis will not, they just won't. I mean, I've been to I've been to a few services, and the rabbis are so unwilling. They'll say, well, there's differences of opinion on this, but they won't come right out and just say, this is just wrong what Israel's doing. You don't want to call it a genocide, which you should, but even if you aren't prepared to say that, you should recognize that 6 out of 10 Jewish people say these are crimes, war crimes. You're killing innocent people. You're targeting children and women. Even if it's not a genocide, which it is, even if you don't believe that. But the leadership won't do that, won't acknowledge this. We're very ill-served. And Carlos was talking about how, black leaders are often not reflecting the best interests, not fighting for the best interests of their constituents, not reflecting the will of their constituents. Well, that's exactly what you see here with the Jewish community, the Jewish religious community, centering the priorities of the Israeli leadership, centering the priorities of the Republican leaders in this country, and the Democrats too, centering the wishes of Hakeem Jeffries apparently and Chuck Schumer apparently, not what their own constituents believe. So this is very, very problematic. Again, our institutions failing us terribly. I was also really upset by and this is consistent, exactly consistent with what I'm talking about, the politicians and Jewish leaders who are using anti-Semitism, alleged anti-Semitism to defend or justify Israel, when even their own the people, even Jews who ostensibly we would know what's anti-Semitism, are saying, no, this is wrong. We don't support what Israel's doing. It's not reacting to anti-Semitism. It's committing crimes. Israel's a criminal state. That's what so many Jews now believe. And what really also very much disappointed me was when most Americans are saying, we got to do something. Many are saying we've got to cut Israel off. And the Student Government Association at the University of Maryland College Park presented a resolution for the university to divest. What we're seeing is a distraction in response, where a Jewish leader in the Maryland House of Delegates, I believe, is saying, How dare the Student Government Association in College Park, how dare they push for boycott, divestment, and sanctions on Yom Kippur, on an Israeli holiday, on a Jewish, not an Israeli, on a Jewish holiday. And many people are joining and saying, well, that's they shouldn't do that. I so don't understand that. How can that? I mean, I get it. If your position is Israel should get to do whatever it wants and should get to kill whoever it wants, then of course you're going to come up with any argument to justify that. And you would immediately complain that it's so wrong for Israel to be called out on the high holidays. The problem I have is that if you don't agree with Israel, if you think Israel, as 60% of Jewish Americans believe Israel's committing war crimes, if Israel, in your view, is committing war crimes, why would you ever say, well, this is the wrong time for the University of Maryland to say we have to change our policies? It's never the wrong time to do the right thing. The argument that, well, it's insensitive to us. You're committing, how is that? No, that's the Jewish religion is supposed to, it does prioritize life. On Yom Kippur, Jews are supposed to fast. I mean, that's part of the religion, is that you don't eat, right, for 24 hours from sundown to sunrise, from one sundown to the next. You don't eat. But if you're sick, if you need medicine, if you need to eat for health reasons, then you're specifically exempted from the requirement that you don't eat. Some people don't even drink water, but let's say you need water, you're dehydrated, then you drink. And nobody is going to say that you're violating the rules of Yom Kippur. You're supposed to prioritize life above all else. So is there a better time what's a better time to prioritize life than on the evening of Kol Nidre? This seems to me the perfect opportunity to say, yes, we are Jewish. We care about our religion. This is a holy day for us. And on a holy day, we're calling for an end to genocide. On a holy day, we're calling for an end to now, I'm sorry, I lost my thread there a little bit because but yeah, on the holy day, we're calling for atonement. This is how we can start to atone for our sins. I totally am at a loss that anyone who criticizes Israel would think this is not the right time to do the right thing. And on that note, you know what? Let's call it an early program. I've got my little dog to take care of, Dolly, and we had a great chat with Carlos. I'll be back tomorrow for an Arlen Tuesday. Very much looking forward to that as well. I will close. Well, you know what? I know this is really bad. You don't want to pull the rug. Sorry. But the one other thing is, yeah, Europe really stepped up. This is the other thing. I was at a rally Saturday for Gaza because there were worldwide rallies for Gaza, and it was small. It was just, maybe I don't think there were 1,000 people. You can see, here's a pretty good picture. It wasn't a terrible crowd. It wasn't, there were people, there was a critical mass, but it wasn't a big outpouring of support. And it was disappointing. In Europe, you had hundreds. I see my little countdown there. Let's stop the countdown. So yeah, there you go. Stop arming Israel. And it's disappointing that we had a smaller turnout there than, say, when you go to Rome, when you go to Paris, when you go to London, where you had hundreds, literally hundreds of thousands. There they are on the streets of Rome protesting. So much bigger crowds. I was disappointed, I have to say. Maybe we just didn't get enough publicity for this event, but the rally for Palestine, I wish had done a little bit better in the United States. But we'll have plenty of other opportunities to fight for life. And that will indeed do it for today's Halitics. Thanks so much for being part of the program. I look forward to speaking to you tomorrow.